Working with mu. I've talked about this before, and I made videos about it. It's the initial koan in Zen, often, and the spelling of it is M-U. And there's some background to it, but I'm not even going to go into that because the background doesn't actually matter. The question is how to work with mu. I've had this question left on a video several times recently, so I thought I would make another video about this. First thing I'll say about it is I'm not a Zen teacher. The second thing I'll say about it is mu essentially was what started this process for me, which led me to that first opening, which continued to deepen. The way I came into contact with it was through a book called The 3 Pillars of Zen, and there's a couple of chapters that describe the use of mu as a koan, and had some pretty explicit instructions, actually. So I somehow, through reading this and through a heck of a lot of suffering and good timing, surmised how this works. And then beyond that, later on, I actually went to meet a Zen teacher and was checked on the koan, although I didn't need to be, because once the quote-unquote event occurs, it's just obvious that what is, has always been, could never not be, and it doesn't exclude anything. And that realization itself, that instinct, is so clear that there's no doubt in the universe that could capture you anymore. Not really. Or I'll say it this way, there's no doubt in the universe that could eradicate or erase that realization, because the realization is primary to everything, and that's obvious by its very nature. So I didn't actually go to a Zen center to get checked out on mu, but I did. I went to the center to sit mostly, to sit and sort of integrate the realization and interact with the Zen teacher, but the koans themselves were very straightforward after the realization. So that's my experience with it. You don't have to have a Zen teacher to take up practice with mu or any one-pointed approach, although some Zen teachers may disagree, but by my own experience, you certainly don't. You may want to. It's not a bad idea if you're really interested in this type of practice, this one-pointed approach. You haven't had an awakening, then taking up koan practice with a Renzai Zen teacher is not a bad idea. So consider that. Maybe there are even some that do it online, but Zen centers and temples and so forth will often offer this as a practice. But that's also not necessary, as I mentioned. So how do you start with mu? So some of the questions I get are like, do I meditate with it? Do I use it as a mantra? Do I just repeat it? Do I just repeatedly ask, what is mu? And ultimately, the answer is none of those, really. Usually, you would start by asking, traditionally, what is mu? And then you would come up with some idea, and it's going to be an idea, and then you would go present it to your Zen teacher, and they would essentially tell you you're really just in your mind at this point, and you need to deepen your insight. You need to get closer to mu. So go back and practice and come back and, give me mu sort of thing, and ring the bell, and then you leave and you go sit for a while, and then you come up with another idea or some kind of insight. You come back, sit down, and tell them what you think mu is and so forth. And this can go on for a long time. Not everybody teaches this the same way, but to cut to the chase, at some point you realize that the conceptual answers are not the answer to what is mu. No conceptual answer is going to work. And once that dawns, you're in a good place as far as the one-pointed approach, because there's nothing else you can do except to get one-pointed with mu. Right? Because everything else is a distraction at this point. Any thought that arises is a thought. It's conceptual. It's not mu. It's a reflection of mu, or it's a reflection in the mind of what the mind thinks mu must be. But mu is not a concept. So now you can ask, well, what is mu? And instead of looking for a conceptual answer, you just orient to the mystery that is opened by the question. or the gap that is opened by the question, or the pause. And really hone that down until the mind becomes unified. At some point, it can just be mu, because there's no question anymore. The what is mu is already digested, so to speak. You don't have to ask anymore what it is. You just don't separate yourself from it. Mu is the one point, but that's not the answer. You have to be so completely absorbed that there is only mu. That's the absorption that we're looking for. That's the one-pointed approach and where it leads until there is literally just mu. Mu sitting, mu standing, mu walking, mu going to sleep, mu waking up. Just mu. All day, all night, day after day, year after year, off into infinity. Imagine a rail, like a train rail, that goes on into infinity. Don't deviate. Stay right on it. Stay right with it. Just mu. 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 When it becomes unified, there won't even be somebody voicing mu or vocalizing mu. It's just mu. And this will become clearer and clearer. I think the key to this is actually the key with essentially any other approach to awakening as you get more unified of mind. And that is noticing when there's distraction of mind and setting it aside and just mu. Because mu is freedom from that. Ultimately, mu is freedom from all of those wrong turns and dead ends of the mind and frustrations and confusions and stories and narratives and pasts and futures and suffering. Mu is free of all of that because it's just mu. So become more and more unified, but remain alert to anything that's still trying to grasp with the mind, or any thoughts that are being presented that feel sticky, and just realize, okay, that's a thought. Set it aside and just return to that one point, mu. This is it. Don't overcomplicate it. It's a very powerful practice. But if you're thinking, oh, what do? I don't know what to do here. I'm confused. I don't know how to use it. Should I do this? Should I do that? Those are all thoughts. All of that is thought. Set it aside. Return to mu. That's it.